The human brain is a very remarkable thing in comparison to the other creatures. Why is it that we study animals and they're not studying us? What does the human brain possess that no other brain does? One of the reasons is that our bodies are larger than they should be in proportion to our size. Our brains are only 3 times larger than a gorilla brain. And what I mean by this is our brain is not physically larger than a gorilla's brain, but in proportion to our body and in proportion to the gorilla's body, our brains are 3 times larger. The human brain is also special in the amount of energy that it uses. Although it is only 2% of total body mass, it alone uses 25% of all the energy your body requires to run per day. That's 500 calories out of 2,000 calories a day just to keep your brain working. In larger rodent brains, the average size of the neuron increases, so the brain inflates very rapidly and gains much size, faster than it gains neurons. But primates gain neurons without the average neuron becoming any larger, which is a very economical way to add neurons. So when a rodent gains more neurons, the size of their brain gets larger. But when a primate, which humans are, gets more neurons, it just adds to what they already possess, which is a very economical way to have more neurons. Humans, on average, have 86 billion neurons, 16 billion of which are in the cerebral cortex, which is responsible for thinking, perceiving, producing, and understanding language. That's the most neurons that any cortex has. This is the simplest answer for our amazing cognitive abilities. The human brain is remarkable, but not special. It has the same number of neurons as a primate brain of a similar size. The cost of the human brain and other primates is similar, an average of 6 calories per billion calories per day. The human brain is just as you would expect based upon the number of neurons it possesses. The reason the human brain uses so much energy is because it has a larger number of neurons and because we are primates with many more neurons for a given body size than any other animal. The relative cost of our brain is large. How did we come by this large amount of neurons? And if great apes are larger, why aren't their brains larger than ours? A primate that eats 8 hours a day can afford at most 53 billion neurons. But at the most, that's enough to support a body weighing 55 pounds. And it has to give up neurons. It's either a large body or a large number of neurons. You can't afford both. Gorillas and orangutans afford 30 billion neurons by spending 8 hours a day eating. With our amount of neurons and body mass, we should have to spend 8 hours every single day feeding. If our brain costs just as much energy as it should, and we can't spend every working day feeding, then the only alternative is to somehow get more energy out of the same foods. That exactly matches what we do through cooking. Cooked foods are softer, so they are easier to chew and completely turn to mush in your mouth. So that allows them to be completely digested and absorbed in your gut, which makes them yield much more energy in much less time. So cooking frees time. The human advantage is the largest number of neurons, 16 billion in the cerebral cortex. That's the simplest answer for our remarkable cognitive abilities. No other animal cooks its food like humans do. So the reason that we study animals and they don't study us is because in our cerebral cortex, which is responsible for thinking, perceiving, producing, and understanding languages, we have 16 billion neurons, which is the largest amount of neurons in any brain when you compare them to one another. On a side note, people think that when you do something like reading, that it is going to use more brain energy, but it doesn't necessarily. It just hits different parts of your brain. Different parts of your brain work and are stimulated depending on different things that you do. If you read, you're going to have different regions of your brain that are going to be used more and stronger, but your brain is still going to require 25% of your energy per day. And it's still going to require 500 out of the 2,000 calories you eat per day. So when you hear people talk about, oh, these brain training programs, it's total bullshit. Your brain is going to use the same amount of energy. You eat, you have glucose in your blood that creates sugar in your blood, and that's how your nutrients are distributed throughout your body. But that's just another side note I thought I would put in here, another golden nugget, that if you listen to me today, you are lucky to have stumbled upon.